Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the second episode of Krav and Coffee. We're going to just get ourselves together here and wait for everyone to log on, and then we'll get started. So I hope everybody had a good week. Thank you for tuning in last week, and thank you for tuning in again this week. It means a lot. So just going to get myself together. Don't mind me. All right. So apparently I can't post into the Kirk's page. Thought I would be able to. Let's see, I can at least share it to some groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. You know what? I'm going to share it. Yeelin, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to share it to your women's group. I am not. All right. I'm bummed that I can't share this. Anywho, so last week it wasn't what I wanted. Remember how I talked about I'm a recovering perfectionist? I'm okay with things not going well, only if I can come back and do it better. So doing it this way, crazy hair, is a little bit of stepping up my game from last time. But I am bummed that I cannot share it to, let me see. Let me see. I can't sing. I'm trying to sing. It's that nervousness of, let me see. Who said this? I was able to share it in the Krav Facebook page. Kelly's here. Hey, Kelly. All right, guys. So I have it shared to some pages. I can't share it to, or I have it shared to groups. I can't share it to certain pages. Let me see if I do it this way. Post. Nope. All right. Well, I'll post it later. So thank you, everybody, for joining me. Happy May 3rd. I hope you guys are enjoying your Sunday morning. Let's see. Heather, Jonna, Oscar, Elin, Desi, Brian, Sarah, Ernie, Janet, Ian, T, Kelly. So like I said, thank you for hanging out. For everybody watching it live, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, comment, put it up. I can, at least this way, I can see what comments are coming through. Last time I couldn't. I was like, no one's talking to me. And you were. I just couldn't see it. Hey, Kate, how are you? So what is Krav and Coffee? Krav and Coffee is my chance to talk to anyone who wants to hear it about women's self-protection. I love Krav Maga. I love a brawl. Don't get me wrong. It's great exercise. It's a great release. But I don't believe that that's really self-protection. So I think that what we need to focus on is the problem. And then maybe we can find a solution. Jenny Crawford, holy cow. Good morning. I went to college with Jenny. So this is just my humble opinion. And I kind of share the opinion with other people that are like my tribe. But I'm sure there's people out there that don't share it. And hey, that's cool. You need a little bit for everybody. So if you have a disagreeing thought, or maybe you've read a book that says something different, please go ahead, comment, say it. We can talk about it. We can talk through it. There's, the coolest thing about Krav is that it's not the way, that it's a way. So there's multiple ways you can go about it. And that's why there's so many books out there about self-defense. I will say that this presentation is based on information that I researched from the One Love Foundation, which is a really amazing group that does a lot to work with teen dating violence. That's why I stumbled upon them when I first started working with a lot of the amazing women at the Domestic Violence Center in Chester County. And they don't just have definitions, they have examples, and it's teen oriented, which is good because, I'm 38, so I'm a little disconnected to what the teens are doing nowadays. I mean, obviously I'm having some technical difficulties with Facebook. Not that teens use Facebook. I don't know how to get this on Instagram yet. I will. So One Love Foundation is a great resource. Check it out. I've also based a lot of my thoughts about educating women about self-protection on the writings of Roy Miller, specifically Facing Violence, Preparing for the Unexpected, and the writings of Gavin DeBecker and his book called The Gift of Fear. And I have some statistics that I'll be sharing with you guys, and I got most of them from the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. So there's a lot of stats out there. And the sad part is they're just stats because they're not, we'll get into that. So let's see. So it's 10:07. I'm going to get started a little differently this time. I have a PowerPoint. I haven't done PowerPoint in ages. But last time I felt like I didn't get to my point. So this time I'm like, I will write it out so I get to my point. The title of last week was The Fence, right? And we talked about how you have that physical boundary that Jeff Thompson talks about when you're doing face-to-face physical self-defense. And what I kind of brought to you all was, how far can you expand your fence? How far ahead can you see? And your call to action or your take-home message last week was, can you observe your surroundings? Just take a baseline. Take a baseline to see who's there, what's going on, how you're interacting. And so I hope you guys were able to do that a little bit. It's an interesting baseline to have to see with the quarantine and all the restrictions that we have. So this week, I wanted to talk about the process predator. So we're going to talk about what a process predator is, why they threaten women so intensely, and kind of what their tactics are. Because the process predator becomes part of your baseline. So they find the way to get beyond your fence. So the fence, although is very important in self-defense, is not like the be all end all. So it's not like once you know how to use your fence, you'll never get into a fight or you'll never have to defend yourself. That's not true. So we're going to talk about what happens when you've identified your baseline, but within that baseline, there are problems. So we're going to start off with a quote, and it hit me kind of hard. So the death of one man is a tragedy. The death of millions is a statistic. So Joseph Stalin actually said that. And it kind of made sense to me. So it's like, why don't we talk about the real threat that women have in self-defense? We know all the statistics. Why don't we talk about it? Why don't we defend against it? And it's because it's so big. It's so big. So every 9 seconds in the US, a woman is assaulted or beaten. Domestic violence is the leading cause of injury to women, more than car accidents, muggings, and rapes combined. Nearly 1 in 5 teenage girls who have been in a relationship said a boyfriend threatened violence or self-harm if presented with a breakup. Okay, if presented with a breakup, let that sit in. 1 in 4 women will be victims of domestic violence at some point in their lives. 98% of college students report that they're not confident in their ability to recognize warning signs of dating abuse. So we hear those stats all the time. And we're going to continue to hear those stats because we're not addressing the problem for women's self-defense, right? We're not getting to the bare bones of it. And what is amazing is that 1 in 4 women will be victims of domestic violence. How many women do I have watching? 1, 2, at least 13 women. So we're not statistics, right? The tragedy has happened. It has happened to us. So why are we allowing this cycle to happen? Why are we not doing what needs to be done to teach women how to protect themselves? I don't know. I have an answer to that. That's my soapbox. But think about it and think about what you think, why we're not teaching women how to defend against their real threat. So let's talk about how this happens and why this happens. So look at the world's baseline. What do the movies and music and media teach us about what love is? I know growing up for me, my favorite love song was Lady by Kenny Rogers. And I've spent my whole life looking for my knight in shining armor to save me. Right. And I was a pretty big fan of Disney, but I don't know if, the Disney princesses really shaped my idea. But even in the songs we listen to, the other day I heard, well, I guess it was a couple months ago now, Isabella, my daughter, who's 10, was singing along to Taylor Swift. And the song was kind of talking about like, yeah, I'm a hot mess and I know about it. And I went psycho on you on the phone the other night, but you'll never find anybody who's going to love you as much as I do. It's like, wait, what? So the more crazy you are about me, the more you love me. So I need to find someone who's like borderline stalking me, because then they really know. No, I really like oh my God, look at all the time they put into trying to date me. It's a weird storyline. It's a weird narrative that we're taught through music and movies about what a relationship is. So you have this great honeymoon stage, and then things kind of get, baseline, and then there's a blow up. There's a huge fight. And then, we make up, and then we're back into the honeymoon stage again. That's an unhealthy cycle. So I'd like to thank Amelia Rayburn, if I said that right, for teaching me about that. She's head of education for the Domestic Violence Center in Chester County. It's like, oh, wait, you don't have like huge drastic ups and downs in relationships. It's supposed to be like even keel. That's not the idea that I thought. That's not the idea that I saw in my, love life fantasy. And, everybody's a little bit different, but I ask you to think about the music, think about the words we're singing, think about the words our kids are singing about what relationships are. And maybe, just maybe, there might be some messages in there that could be leading to why women are having some difficult times trusting their gut when love is presented to them, although it's not really healthy. So just to give you one example, and this is a song called Don't You Want Me by the Human League. So it's an 80s song. We're going back a little bit. But the words, my goodness, the words. So, and I feel like, I don't know if you guys ever seen the William Shatner, like, lounge music when he redoes songs. I feel like him when I'm saying this. So I hope you get a little bit of a giggle, because this information can get a little heavy. So you were working as a waitress in a cocktail bar. When I met you, I picked you out, I shook you up and turned you around, turned you into someone new. Now, 5 years later on, you've got the world at your feet. Success has been so easy for you. But don't forget, it was me who put you where you are now, and I can put you back down too. Don't you want me? You know I can't believe it when I hear that you won't see me. Don't you want me? I know I don't believe you when you say that you don't need me. It's much too late to find. You think you've changed your mind. You better change it back, or we will both be sorry. So does life imitate art, or does art imitate life? Hey, Kim. Okay. So let's talk about that. So, okay, what are we going to do about it? I'm a solution-oriented person. I don't just bring up things that are wrong and be like, oh, they're so wrong. So in Krav, we learn the offense, we learn the attack before we learn the defense. And it's not so that we become bullies, and it's not so that we can become attackers. It's so that we can really understand the mindset and the mechanics of the attack. If you can understand, if you can have some idea about how the aggressor is using that tool of violence, even if you're a step behind or multiple steps behind because you've been attacked, you kind of have an inside track to what's going on. Because you're like, okay, I understand now that when someone puts me in a bar arm, their radius is against my trachea. And if they crush my trachea, which could happen very easily and very quickly, I'm done. So I need to turn my head. It's easier to understand that when you've done it. Not that we, injure our partners, we train very safely, but we feel how quickly we can make our partners tap from that pressure of a bar arm. And it's really an important learning tool. So why can't we take that idea of learning the offense so that we can better understand the defense? So keep that in mind. It's a learning tool. I don't want anyone to become predators. So we need to break that victim mentality. And the great way to break that victim mentality is to become the aggressor. All right. So how could you get someone to do something you wanted them to do? How many of us are in sales, right? That person who's hemming and hawing, I don't know if I should buy the new car. I don't know if I need all the bells and whistles. Sure you do, right? Or we are in a business meeting and we have a proposal that we really want to go through and we need people to see it from our side, okay? What tactics would you use to have another person see your point of view? Just think back to that. Think back on a time of when you needed somebody to kind of get on board with you. And how did you do it? Did you attack them? Did you follow them into a Wawa or a convenience store and just attack them? Did you wait for them as they were coming out of their office and grab them from behind and be like, you will listen to me, right? No, that's not going to work. They're going to be like, whoa, HR, right? So you have to be nice to them. You have to charm them. You have to get them to feel like there's no threat. Yes, persuading people to study. Good, Kim. So you would make them feel like you were on the same team, that you're working together towards a common goal. Hey, man, I am with you all the way. I understand that my proposal is new, but just think of all the times where you needed this type of proposal. We can do this together. Okay. Would you want to make them feel important? Like their opinion mattered? Like they're needed to be part of this goal? And then, give them the confidence to follow your lead. So I'm able to lead you to where we need to be. You're great. You're amazing. You haven't done the work yet to create this proposal, but you could. I've done it. So let me take the lead. Okay. And you'll get there. I know you will. But right now, let's do this. We've done this. We'll do this together. I'll take the lead and you can just follow with me. Okay. And then how would you guide them to this new understanding? And then, you get them there to this new perspective, and now they feel so grateful to you. Well, of course you feel grateful to me. If I wouldn't have brought this proposal, then you wouldn't be able to have, the luxury that you have now. You should definitely say thank you to me. Of course you should. That's the polite thing to do. I've given you this. Thank me. Okay. So those are the tactics of a process predator. They're not bad tactics, but they can be used to manipulate and to destroy. If you know the tactics and you know how they work, that doesn't make you a predator. That just makes you aware of the process. And, sometimes in sales, you're like, yeah, I know you're selling me. That's cool. Or maybe you're joining, a group of women who are looking to change the world. And you're like, listen, I get that you're kind of forcing this team on me, but I understand your intentions are good. Like you want us to have that sense of community because you understand that if we work together towards this common goal, it'll be better. And I am grateful for you for leading me to this. So you have to understand that the process is there. It's just how it's used. What's the intent behind it? And once you kind of dive into this process of how you can be manipulated, it gives you a way to identify those feelings, and you can give those feelings names. So it's not so much like I feel kind of uneasy and I don't know why I feel uneasy because there hasn't been a huge thing that has happened. I don't know. I don't have the verbiage for this. Well, now you do. Okay. So we'll go through exactly what each tactic is. And it should give you an idea of, what's going on, which is important. Education is power. So let's take a step back and focus in on what is a process predator. So like I'd said in the beginning, probably on the other Facebook Live before I restarted, that the information is not mine. I'm not making this up. I like to read other people's books and see what perspective they have and see if that fits. And one of those people is Rory Miller. Great author. So he's written a book called Facing Violence, and it's preparing for the unexpected. And within that, he talks about there's two types of predators. You have a resource predator and you have a process predator. So the resource predator wants something. I want your money. I want your car. That's it. I want your spot in line. Okay. A process predator, it's the process that he wants. It's the crime. It's the act of violence that he wants. So it's not like, all right, if I give you something, this will be over. It's like, no, no, no. This whole process, this is what gets me going. This is what I want to do. This manipulation, this control, this dominance. That's what I'm here for. And you're an easy target, and I can tell that I can do this to you. So that type of violence, as you can tell, all those steps that we needed to take to get everybody on board for our proposal at work, that takes some time. And it takes some one-on-one time, right? You don't want distractions. You don't want your victim to have any other lifelines. So the process predator needs time and privacy. He has to convince you to see things his way. It's not a large physical attack. It's not this big grandiose movement that you're like, oh, they're going to attack me. I better use my Krav Maga. It's a means to an end. He needs you to comply. So that's why we talk about why being in a secondary location is such a huge problem. So if you've ever taken any classes from me, we've talked about if the threat is control, one of the biggest bad things about control is that you can be removed from your primary location to your secondary location. And statistically speaking, your chance of survival decreases like 70% if you're moved from your primary location to your secondary location. So it's not so much that there's always going to be two locations. It's that secondary location. If you've been attacked, if this has started at Starbucks, where they start getting you to be on their team and they start that manipulative process, and then they take you back to their apartment to continue, let's have a cup of coffee and, get to know each other. Once you're moved from Starbucks, where there's lots of people and cameras and social interaction, to a place where a door has been locked and it's just you guys, and your exits have now been significantly cut off, and you are alone, and there's time and there's privacy. That's the problem. So you don't always have to be moved. You can already be in that secondary location. So if you're a college kid, or if you have daughters going to college, and say they're at a party and the party gets out of hand, and they're like, heck no, I don't want anything to do with this. And they decide they're going to walk home alone on a dark road, alone, where there's no other people. And someone follows her from the party and sees that she's alone and there's plenty of time to do whatever they need to do to them. She made the right choice, right? She looked at her surroundings. She was situationally aware. She's like, things are going to go down. It's bad. I'm leaving this situation because I need to protect myself. And then she's moved herself to that secondary location as she's walking home. So defending against that is another conversation for another Krav and Coffee. But just realize that it's not the act of being moved. It's the place. It's the environment. You walk into your boss's office and they lock the door behind you. What? Why? Why would they do that? Why would they need the privacy and the time of having a locked door? That's what the secondary location problem is. Okay. So the point of the location is so the process predator has the time to do what they need to do, and you've been cut off. Your exits are now, because it's all about the control. So let's go back then. How do they get you to comply? Okay. How do they get you, say you haven't put yourself into a situation where it's already the secondary location. Let's go back to the Starbucks, maybe. So you're at Starbucks, you're getting a coffee, and how could a complete stranger get you back to their house? Okay, so if you've ever been in a self-defense class or a regular Krav Maga class, there are pre-fight indicators we talk about. So people will They'll look around, they'll touch their face, they'll groom, so they'll pull their pants up or they'll fix their shirt, they'll splay the arms. Those are all indications that a physical altercation is going to happen. So do we have those types of indicators with this mental emotional abuse? And Gavin de Becker actually explains them in the book, The Gift of Fear, and he calls them pre-incident indicators. All right. So charm. Charm is being polite and nice to manipulate someone. So think about being nice as it's not a character trait. It's a social interaction. I'm sure many of us have been nice to people we don't really like. Okay. So just because someone's nice, that's not a reason to trust them. Okay. But they're nice and they're polite and, maybe you've had a really crappy day and it just feels so good to have someone be nice to you. And you let your guard down. They're nice. They don't look like a bad guy. They're not acting like a bad guy because they're so nice. You ignore your intuition. So even if you get a little spidey sense like, I don't know this person, I'm a little concerned. Because they're so nice, you're like, shh, don't worry about this intuition. It's okay. I got this. You've let them beyond your fence. Now they're part of your baseline just because they were nice. Okay. Once they've become part of your baseline, that fight or flight mindset is tapped out because there's no reason to be concerned. They're part of a baseline. You've let them in. You've kind of scanned their file and you're like, you're cool. You're in. I'm going to continue this conversation with you. So it's not like I've been attacked. Now I'm either going to freeze or I'm going to run or I'm going to hit. No, it's not an attack. Remember, you wouldn't come up behind your coworker and bear hug them. You'd be like, hey, how are you? Let's chat. Okay. And at this point, the manipulation's already begun. So then there's forced teaming. So forced teaming is like when someone tries to pretend that they have something in common with you, even though it isn't true, to make you feel like it's you against the world. So they convince you now that, don't trust your gut. Don't worry about that. You can trust me. We're on the same team. Go us. We're in this together. You and me, girl. We got this. And you're convinced that that predator kind of understands you. And you start to think like, hey, they get me. They get me and they're going to help me and they're going to get me where I need to be. And, they have my best interest in mind. Not so much you, intuition. You've been jaded, intuition. So I don't know if I trust that you have my best interest in mind. But this guy, man, he just gets me. I've been forced teamed. Then there comes to typecasting. So typecasting it's kind of like an insult to make you talk to someone you otherwise wouldn't have. So this can be seen in a couple different scenarios, but to keep it in line with what we've been talking about, it's a slight undercut and it appears to be a compliment. However, it allows the predator to assume that alpha position. So they've been nice to us. They've gotten our guard down. We start to think like, oh, don't worry about it, intuition. This guy's okay. Then they get you to believe that your intuition doesn't have your best interest in mind, that they do, because you guys are on the same team. Now, once you're on that team, you can't be equals. The predator has to have alpha. So they'll be like, in Gavin de Becker's book, the example is there's such a thing as being too proud. Let me help you. Right? How many of us are super strong women? How many of you have heard that? Don't be so damn stubborn. Let me help you. You don't have to do it all on your own. Let me help you. Okay. Or they start to kind of one up you. Like, oh my gosh, you've been through that? That's so tough. You know what? I've been through situations similar to that, only mine was this much worse. Or you've had to fight that battle maybe at work. Oh man, you had to fight for a promotion. That's so hard. Yeah, believe me, I get it. I had to fight for my promotion too. And I was going up against 3 other guys. So it's always like, yes, we're in the same boat, but I'm a little bit more experienced. Okay. You allow yourself to be led by that predator. The trust, the control has been transitioned. So it's not only that you're in it together anymore, you're in it together and they are in charge. And then I start to trust him instead of me. So I don't trust my intuition. I don't trust me. I trust him, and he has my best interest in mind. Okay, then there's the last one we're going to talk about is loan sharking. With loan sharking, they've given you help that you didn't ask for, and now they start to expect those favors in return. So I carried the groceries up the steps for you. Now just let me come in and put them on the counter. You didn't ask for their help. They told you were stubborn and you were too proud and that you should accept help. And now that you've allowed them to help you, even though you didn't ask for it, they want you to allow them into your home to put the groceries down because you owe it to them. Or you've built this ideal person. You've been built into this ideal person by this predator, and now you owe him. So I supported you when you were going to school. I supported you when you were getting ready for that interview. That success you have, that's because of me. That's not you, that's me. Okay, so it's great to have a team, and it's great to be helped, and it's important to have a community. And I'm not saying that you should be completely paranoid and do everything by yourself and not accept any compliments or any help. All I'm saying is, if during this process, the intentions of the person going through this process with you give you a knee-jerk reaction to be like, this just doesn't seem right. Like, I just met you at Starbucks 5 minutes ago. How are we like taking on the world together? Right? It sounds really great. It sounds like all those songs that I hear on the radio and all those movies that I watch, all those rom-coms where I'm having the worst day of my life and I spill my coffee all over and this knight in shining armor comes in and they help me and they find interest in me. And then you're like, but this feels weird. This doesn't feel right to me. I feel uncomfortable. I can't explain why I feel uncomfortable, but I do. I can't even like call my friend and be like, this is weird, because I don't have the words to say this is weird with. And it's because you've been manipulated. It all started with charm, right? Charm is a verb. It's control. It's achieving control. And if you look it up, a lot of the definitions say it's as if by magic. It's not logical. It's unreal. It's fantasy. So if we've been raised in a society that teaches us that love is a fantasy, when all these fantasy things start coming into our life, we get confused. So you can see that these tactics can be used for good and they can be used for really bad. And you have to be able to trust. You have to have enough confidence in yourself, in your thought process, that when this happens and it doesn't feel right, you don't have to be like, you're a predator. But you have to have a conversation. You have to be like, listen, your behavior, not what you look like, but your behavior is really making me uncomfortable. And this is why. And it could just be that somebody's kind of like socially awkward. They weren't raised the same way. They have a different culture. They have a different idea, outlook on life, more introverted versus extrovert. Maybe there are other societal things that come into play. you can have a conversation. And if you can kind of work it out and talk about it and set your boundaries and speak your piece without having to be questioned, then by all means, that you have the power now. You have the tools because you have thought through how you would be a process predator. How would you get someone to do something? And then when that table flips and someone starts to do that to you, you can be like, oh, good one. I know what you're doing. I know what you're going to do next too. And if they're a process predator and they see that, guess what? See ya. They're gone. Because they need to be able to manipulate. Okay? So in self-defense, we talk about addressing the threat and being aware of those pre-fight indicators. In self-protection, the pre-incident indicators are what we need to be aware of. The manipulative behaviors are the threat. If you can identify the process and avoid the time and privacy that the predator needs, then maybe you can avoid the fight. So that brings us back to why are there so many domestic violence deaths and injuries? Why are women now the domestic violence does go both ways, and it's not always male versus female. But I haven't done enough research in the other demographics to speak about it intelligently. So I'm not excluding other demographics based on anything besides my ignorance of it. So it happens. It's still a threat. Just for me, being a female and working with females who have been abused by men, this is kind of like my wheelhouse. I'd like to expand my wheelhouse, but right now this is all I got. So why are 1 in 4 women victims of domestic violence? Could it be because no one tells us about this? Could it be that in our women's self-defense classes, we're not taking the time to discuss this? Could it be that we've been sold, that glamorous idea that it's all for the greater good? Oh, he just loves you that much. I don't know. I don't know what it could be. And you guys can think on that. But it's important to me that this conversation is had, that this information is brought to as many people as it could possibly be brought to, because I believe that identifying these pre-incident indicators will save your life. So that's my spiel on process predators. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. If you're watching this replay and you have any questions or comments, let me know. I'll go back and check it and try to get everybody answered. If you have any thoughts on other circumstances or things that you'd like to learn about, let me know, because I know that this is an odd medium. It really is just me talking. I'd love to have that interactive conversation. Excuse me. And hopefully we will once quarantine has ended. Let me see. Oh, yes. So you've been trying to share and invite friends, but today you seem to be on your personal page instead of the Krav page. Will you be back on the public page next week? Yes. Yes. I had thought that I would be able to share this to the Krav page, but I wasn't. So what I'll do once it's done, is I'll share it to the Krav page, and then you can direct any friends to the Krav page, so that way anybody who wants to see it can. Okay. So Kim, in a professional scene, how can you distinguish genuine professional networking with sleazy trying to get this young lady alone to talk future aspirations. It's about training your gut. If you for a second feel like, whoa, this dude's sleazy, you're right. There's a book that Kelly had recommended to me. If you guys haven't checked out the Diamond Arrow group yet, do it. And Kelly is the CEO of the Diamond Arrow group, and she recommended a book called Creepology, and I've started reading it, and it talks about what a creep is and how the strategy of the creep is to make you uncomfortable. And you're like, I don't understand why I'm uncomfortable, and I don't have the words for it, but I'm uncomfortable. And that's kind of all they look to do. So if someone is doing something to purposefully make you feel uncomfortable, then that's not right. Right? That's creepy. That's sleazy. That's not professional. Why do we allow other people's feelings to outweigh our sense of comfort? Yeah. So, Kim, it's simple, but it's not easy. Does that make sense? Anything that's worth its weight in gold is usually very simple, but it's not easy to do. It is really not easy to call it like you see it. Okay? Because people don't know the whole story. Things can be taken out of context, and problems can happen because of your decision. Like the one statistic that I had about, let me go back. 1 in 5 teenage girls who've been in a relationship said the boyfriend threatened violence or self-harm if presented with a breakup. They're not violent or trying to use violence towards the girlfriend or themselves until the girlfriend is like, I'm calling this like I see it, and this is not working for me. That's when the problem starts. So yes, it is simple, but it's not easy. That's why so many domestic violence survivors, the toughest part is leaving, because that's when things get really bad. I've heard stories of women who knew that they could leave when their husband got completely drunk, completely intoxicated, gave them the beating of their lives, and then passed out. They took that beating because they knew that he would be that drunk that he would pass out, and then she could leave. It sounds simple, but I wouldn't want to have to do that. And there are women who have, and they've shared their story. And I think the way to repay them, to thank them for sharing their struggle, is as a self-defense instructor, as a women's self-protection instructor, I want to have these conversations. I shared a video as a promo for this, and it was that love labyrinth. He never hit her. When should she have left? What part of the process should she have seen the red flag and said, I don't want to be treated this way anymore? Violence looks different in different situations. Are you going to wait to get hit so that you can leave? Can you leave before that? Has the manipulation gotten you to the point where you can or you can't? This is, and it's really heavy for a Sunday morning, and maybe this is why it's not talked about so much, because it's hard and it's sad. But if one person can hear this and stop a violent situation because they heard the words and they felt the manipulation and they said no, then it was worth it. Okay, let's see what else. I would like to know how to further my talks about safety with teenagers entering high school because I'm a mom. They're not really trying to hear, listen to mom because I think they know everything. Yes. Teenagers are tough. I can tell you, I've worked with a couple different high schools, and this kind of conversation is hard. So we did a teen dating a teen dating violence awareness seminar in conjunction with the Domestic Violence Center of Chester County. And Amelia did the talk part, and she talked about what the signs look like of dating abuse. And then I was able to do a Krav Maga demonstration. Being able to get up and move kind of helps the girls process the heaviness of the conversation. So my recommendation is twofold: that you have the information presented in a way that gives examples. And Janelle, if you look at One Love Foundation, they have not only do they have videos and testimonials and just like information, they also have courses that you can take that are specifically for teaching teens about it. The founder of One Love did a TED Talk. You guys can listen to that. That was really good as well. The information's there, and it's by people who have done more than I have. So if I can at least be a catalyst to get you to the right information, that's cool. But stay in touch with me. I can get you some more once the quarantine orders have been lifted. We can plan something. I wouldn't mind. I don't know if you're local to our school or not in Westchester, but we can plan something. Kim, you're welcome. Yes, that makes sense. I need to train myself into listening and acting on my gut feeling. I feel silly now for trying to be polite. Don't feel bad. Just because there's bad people in the world doesn't mean you have to be bad. You're allowed to be polite. I don't want you to be a jerk, but your comfort doesn't have to take a back seat. That's not being polite. Yeah. So you can be nice. You can be nice about it. Hey, Becky. Hope things are going well for you. Charlie, how are you? Let me see. Heavy but necessary. It's hard to talk, but crucial. Welcome. Is that non-Facebook? One Love Foundation, they do have a Facebook page, but it's onelovefoundation.org is their website. All right. Lower Marion. Yeah, we could make something work for Lower Marion, Janelle. If you would want, or I could come to you, we can make things. I can at least get you the resources that you need. All right. So thank you guys for hanging and watching and asking questions and interacting. If there is Kim, I would like to use what you just said. Violence looks different in different situations as an intro to explaining self-defense to teens, my grandkids. Yeah. And it's interesting. Tim Larkin, who wrote the When Violence is the Answer, I love what he says. He says that violence is a tool. If you use that tool, it doesn't make you a violent person. You just know how to use the tool of violence. And if you've gotten to a physical altercation and you don't use the tool of violence, you will not win. Even if you use that tool of violence in a self-defense situation, it's not going to be easy. If you thought standing up for your feelings was hard, fighting off an attacker is going to be even harder. So start there. Start small. While you're on quarantine, here's your thought, guys. I want you to listen to movies and commercials and songs and start to identify that like underlying idea of what love should be. And then think about, your relationship. Nothing's perfect. but you need to call it like you see it. Thank you, T. Thank you. Always awesome to see you hopping on here. And, see if you can be a process predator this week. Find someone in your house. If you're a mom, use this on your kids. It's a good practice, right? And it's no harm, no foul. You want your kid to clean their room. I know I'm a yeller and a screamer. Try it a different way. Try to be nice. Put yourself on the same team. See if you can get your child, your significant other, your friend to agree with you. Okay? So practicing your self-defense by using the tactics. All right, guys, enjoy your day. Katie, how are you? Now I know how to make my teen daughter start listening. Cool. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining in, and I'll see you next week. Happy Sunday.